All right, realtors, let's talk about listings. More specifically, how to get your very first listing as a new real estate agent. I am going to give you my top 6 methods of generating leads specifically to get your first listing and the specific approach you need to take within each method for maximum effectiveness. And as always, I'm going to give you specific actionable steps to take, okay? There's not going to be any vague information here. I am going to give you the exact blueprint for what you need to start working on to start taking your first listings. So let's dive right into it. Hey, real quick, before I dive in, my channel has been growing quite a bit lately, which I'm deeply grateful for. I am so grateful that some of you find value in the information I put out here, and I've been getting more and more requests for coaching. And to be honest, I don't really have anything set up for coaching at the moment. Now, of course, myself being an agent at eXp Realty, if you decide that that is a good brokerage fit for you and you want to partner with me, I can sponsor you at eXp Realty. You don't need to join my team. You can be a solo agent, or we can find you a team at eXp to join. But in that instance, I would be your direct sponsor and coach you one-on-one. However, a lot of you are not interested in eXp Realty, which I completely respect. So I'm gonna ask for your feedback. And if this is your first time watching the video, I'm sorry. This is really for people, maybe if some of you out there watch my videos consistently and you've reached out about coaching, what would that look like? What would that look like optimally for you, both in terms of frequency, price, and delivery, right? Would you want one-on-one once a week? If so, what would be reasonable for you? I need help coming up with really a sustainable plan. I don't want to charge realtors $1,500 a month to do 2 half-hour sessions a month, which is very common in our industry. So I'm asking for your support in coming up with a model for you as a new agent, or if you're an experienced agent, what would be a price point that you could feel like you could do consistently? Because I don't really think it makes sense to have people sign up for a month or two and then quit because it's too expensive for them. So what would be a sustainable price for you? And then what would your expectation be based on that, right? Would it be group coaching? Would it be one-on-one? Would it be a library of recorded videos? So I'm asking for your feedback. If you do have time, I would love to hear what you're looking for as a new agent. You need help. You feel like you're not getting enough help. What would be the ideal scenario for you? So thanks so much for your providing feedback. All right, so let's talk about how to get your first listing as a real estate agent. So in this industry, if you're just getting in here, there's a phrase that we have. It's called list to last. Now, the common wisdom in real estate sales is that listings are more valuable than buyers. And there's a few reasons for this. Now, I don't totally subscribe to this. I have always been extremely buyer heavy, and I actually prefer buyers for a few different reasons. We won't get into them today. So I don't want you to get too hung up on the difference between listings and working with buyers. At the end of the day, if your phone is ringing, if you're doing deals and making money, you should be feeling good about yourself. However, there is certain realities that you may not be aware of if you're a new agent. The biggest one being that on average, listings just require way less time than buyers do, right? Now, if you ask what the average hours is, you're gonna get very different answers. But a lot of experienced agents will tell you that to work a listing to completion, you really only need to put in 10 hours or less. Whereas with a buyer, you're looking at least 30 hours per buyer. Now that is highly variable depending on your circumstances, systems, and processes. It doesn't have to be that way on either end. But I will say, having done both for a long time now, it is true, especially when you get your systems dialed in, that listings should take less time, if not just for the simple fact that you have one thing you're trying to sell rather than taking clients around to multiple homes that they might purchase. So again, I love buyers, don't shy away from buyers, but this video is for you. Maybe you're buyer heavy and you want to add in more listings, or maybe you decided you only want to focus on listings. That's why I created this video. Now, the other reality with listings is that they are harder to get than buyers, right? It's way easier, especially as a new agent, to create a relationship, provide value, and have buyers who are willing to work with you to help them purchase a home. This is much less likely with a seller, right? They already have an asset in their hands, so to speak, with a lot of value that they're looking to place in someone's hands to get it sold for the most amount of money with the best experience possible. And like I said, you have the majority of agents in this industry fighting over listings. So it is technically harder to get your first listings, but again, this industry is a lot about mindset, so I do not want you to be discouraged in any way. I'm just trying to share, common wisdom in our industry. So I've got 6 actionable things for you to do to start taking listings right away, regardless of your experience. Now, just a heads up, this is all about lead generation, right? If you're new to the channel or you haven't gotten the message yet, everything around this channel is about lead generation. We're not going to talk about building a website to get you more listings. We're not going to talk about building a brand to get you more listings, okay? Because while those things are important, those things are not lead generation. You could argue a website is a form of lead generation, but especially for my new agents out there, we're not going to consider that right now, okay? I know maybe you're running ClickFunnels and that's fantastic, especially if it's actually helping you close deals, but I'm trying to differentiate, as always, busy work from money producing activities. So let's dive right in. Number 1, you're a new agent or you're an experienced agent, you're doing a reset, whatever, you want new listings. FSBOs and expireds, okay? Now, I'm not a cold caller. It's not how I generate the majority of my business. I do have experience cold calling, moderate success, but the reality is, if you're really serious about this, not only is this the best way to get listings right away, it can be free for you right away. It's conceivable, and I'm sure it's happened, and I would love to hear if some of you have done it or do it, for your very first day in the office as a licensed agent to get a listing off Zillow for free without buying any equipment. So what are FSBOs and expireds? FSBO is for sale by owner, people trying to sell their home without a real estate agent. Expireds are listings that did not sell where the seller was represented by an agent. FSBOs are listed on Zillow because those owners are trying to sell their home. If you want a more comprehensive list of FSBOs, you can sign up for services like RedX or Vulcan. But if you're cash strapped, you want to dive in and start developing your skills, you can literally just go to Zillow, filter for your area by for sale by owner. Their contact info will be there. You just got to dial the phone and start talking to people. If you want to dive into expireds, and the benefit with expireds is that these people, unlike FSBOs, have already decided I need to use an agent. Expireds are more difficult to reach. You can get a list of expired listings off your MLS, but you have to skip trace those listings to get the contact information. There's a lot of services that do this. Again, RedX is probably going to be your best option. Some people like Vulcan. It's more expensive, but they'll say it has better numbers. So these are 2 groups of people that are trying to sell their home, and one group, the FSBOs, is probably not going to be successful because they don't know what they're doing. And the other group, expireds, has already said they need an agent, but the one that they hired wasn't a good one. So your first answer to getting listings is cold calling. Sorry if that disappoints you, but welcome to sales, okay? I'm not going to rehash all the tropes that I go through on this channel. Watch my other videos, but look, you're in sales, and if you really want to not have that day job, if you really don't want to have that boss and that 9 to 5, sales is great, but also you got to cold call people. In this instance, I'm a big fan of social media content, but again, we're talking about listings. So one framework I need you to take away from this for each of these 6 approaches is developing a skill, right? And the reason that is important is because you're going to have a lot of failure at first. And if you don't have this mindset, you're going to have a defeatist attitude and you're going to quit because it's not working, right? Whereas if you frame it like, wow, I am undertaking the incredibly difficult skill of cold calling, which is essentially hand-to-hand combat, right? This is belly-to-belly sales. I cannot tell you how valuable it is if you're able to put in the work to develop this skill. You will never go hungry, that's for sure. You'll have success in real estate if you want. Anything you need to sell, this is going to be a valuable skill. The ability to call up a stranger and carry on a conversation to where you can at least speak with them again is an incredible skill to have. Don't expect that you're going to sell them on the phone, and we'll talk more about this, but even just a skill of having the confidence to pick up the phone, call a stranger, carry on a conversation, get personal details, and get permission to follow back up with them, that is an invaluable skill. So I really want you to have the framework that you're developing that skill, less so than you're trying to get a listing. Because if you really develop that skill, you're going to get a lot of listings, I promise you. So let's talk more about the practicality of cold calling FSBOs and expireds. Again, just to set expectations. Because the idea of you calling one of these people, setting a listing appointment, taking down a listing, and listing right away, while it could happen, is pretty unlikely. So you need to understand the sales funnel. And the sales funnel applies to any type of lead generation that you do. And if you understand the sales funnel, you're going to be a great salesperson. Now, the beautiful thing about FSBOs and expireds is that they're at the very, very bottom of the funnel, right? If the top of the funnel is thinking about selling, the bottom of the funnel is these people are actively trying to sell, right? And so the benefit of that is that they're ready to go, and this could be very quick business for you potentially. However, it's not going to happen on the first call. So number one, you need a script, right? And you need to practice that script. This is the skill development. Now listen, do not get bogged down in what the perfect script is. I started off with Kevin Ward scripts. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Ward. If you want to dive into cold calling, he's probably a great channel to go check out. He's had a lot of success doing that. And I believe he gives a lot of his scripts away for free. Now, you should not have a difficult time finding free cold calling scripts for real estate online. And I don't want you to worry too much about what the perfect one is. What you're going to do is, before you start cold calling each day, you're going to practice saying your script out loud. And then as you make calls, you're going to make notes for where roadblocks come up in your conversations, and you're going to adjust your script as necessary. Every really successful cold caller that I've encountered, they started off with someone else's script and then they crafted it to be their own. It's got to be specific to your area, the price point that you're calling on, and a bunch of other factors. So again, just pick a script for now. This is getting you in the habit of practicing your scripts, thinking about where the conversation should go. You're going to take notes as you speak with people and adjust as needed. Now, the other hugely important part of this that is going to be a recurring theme for each of the 6 methods that I talk about is going to be neighborhood specific. Now, you're going to be somewhat limited with how neighborhood specific you can be with FSBOs and expireds, because there's only going to be so many, listings. There's only going to be so many FSBOs and expireds in the neighborhood that you're trying to focus on. However, if you take away nothing else from this video, everything in lead generation, in my opinion, should be in some way neighborhood specific. This is a big blind spot in the real estate sales industry, in my opinion. For instance, we're going to talk about content. Content needs to be neighborhood specific, not only because that's what actual value looks like to sellers and buyers, but you're leveraging your inherent expertise. Even if you're a brand new agent, you probably grew up somewhere where you're selling a home, or hopefully you've spent a little bit of time there, a few years. You are an expert compared to someone who has never been there. You know restaurants that you like, you know things that you like to do, you know something about the weather, about events that go on. So you need to really leverage the location-specific information that you already have in each of these methods. So as you're coming up with a plan for FSBOs and expireds, I would start with the people that are trying to sell in the area that you're focused on. And what this will do is, if you get past the initial awkwardness of the conversation and you're starting to ask good questions, you're going to find opportunities to say, oh, I grew up here, or oh, I'm very familiar with this area. And that's going to provide value and build confidence in the person you're speaking with. And the third part we need to discuss when calling FSBOs and expireds is going to be the follow-up, right? And again, this is a fundamental skill in sales and real estate sales in particular, is you've got to, as soon as before you hang up the phone with them, ask permission for when you can follow up. Now, if that's an immediate listing appointment that day, God bless you. That's amazing. More likely, it's going to be, I'm busy right now, or I need to talk with my wife, or whatever. Call me next week at this time, right? The important part is getting permission so that when you call back, you have a reason to, right? And you're more established. And in many ways, it establishes a relationship. Now, when they do that, you need to take meticulous notes in your CRM. And again, this is part of sales. Being a good salesperson is taking meticulous notes in your CRM. You just use the free CRM that your brokerage provides, or use Excel. Okay, do not spend hours researching the perfect CRM. Put all the information that you have, the name, the address, notes about your conversation, what you discussed, and when you're going to follow up. And so As you make these calls and put people into your CRM, this is going to develop a process for you where you spend time reaching out to new people and you spend time following up on people you spoke with last week. And just to warn you, this may take 3, 6, 9, 29 follow-ups, right? I mean, that is what we call the cream rising to the top, separating the wheat from the chaff, right? You want to succeed in this industry, you have to be ready to run a marathon. And the reason why most agents fail is because they thought they were going to sprint to success, and it just does not happen. So I need you to have that mindset. So the first one, and I'm already talking too much, is FSBOs and expireds. This is the main vein into people who are looking to sell. The other thing is this: if you're going to develop this as your lead generation, you have to master your craft, right? So if you stop watching this video and you decide, you know what, FSBOs and expireds are where it's at for me, the next thing you need to be doing is going looking for the best books on cold calling FSBOs and expireds. Maybe go buy someone else's training program for calling FSBOs and expireds. Do your research, right? Look at this like a course you're taking in college, right? I mean, it's not only is it comparable, it's way more beneficial, right? I can't think of a course in college that you could take and have more direct impact on your finances than the ability of sales and follow-up. So that's the mentality I want you to have for each of these things that I'm going to mention. Think about what I'm telling you is required for each of them. Think about what the best fit for your personality and disposition is, and then decide which one you're going to stick with and go all in. Number 2 on my list of how to start getting listings immediately is content. And of course, this is close to my heart. I'll have to prevent myself from really talking too long about this. But in my opinion, especially for a new agent, creating social media content is the single best way to develop your business and to generate leads. For a variety of reasons, I have full-length videos about why this is. So hopefully I've convinced you by now. So let's talk about content for listings. And I haven't really heard anyone else talk about this in the way that I have found success in. I've just kind of stumbled upon this as someone who's really interested in the different social media platforms and the audiences that they reach. Again, I have a full-length video about social media content, the differences between the platforms, and which one you should want to focus on. But the first thing I want to say for creating social media content that gets listings is neighborhood specific, right? You may live in a neighborhood, and I'm assuming you like to consume content about that neighborhood, right? I live in Atlanta, right? So I follow hashtags for Atlanta on Instagram, TikTok, all the platforms, okay? Most people are pretty interested not only in what's going on in their neighborhood news-wise, but social media content-wise. So for instance, where I make content that's pretty broad around Metro Atlanta, because my niche is helping people who are relocating here from out of state. If you're an agent who wants to do social media, but you don't want to help relocations, you want to get listings, you really need to be neighborhood specific, right? So let's say you live in Sandy Springs, Georgia. You need to be the Sandy Springs guy or gal, right? That's going to develop social proof and authority in your area over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but you need to be in Sandy Springs, filming the amenities, things to do, the public transportation, talking about the schools, talking about the things there are to do, talking about the weather, talking about grocery stores. Any information that someone living in Sandy Springs would be interested in is what you need to make your business. You're very likely to catch the eye of people who live in Sandy Springs, and there's just so many benefits to focusing on one neighborhood. You're going to develop relationships. You're going to make inroads, maybe with local officials. I would really encourage you to have the framework of neighborhood domination throughout all of these topics. So content is going to be neighborhood specific, but let's talk about platforms. There's one platform more so than any other that will get you listings. And I've recently discovered this. In fact, I've gotten more listings from this platform in 1 year than I had from all other methods in my previous 5 years in real estate, okay? And it's TikTok, believe it or not. And I know they might ban it, and that is a risk, but TikTok is the best way to get listings for social media. I'm really convinced of that. It's the most local app in terms of people really follow hashtags for their area on TikTok. They really feel a lot of pride. You know, anytime I post something about Atlanta, you know, people take a lot of pride in that, or they get really angry at me for that, but there's engagement and there's interest, right? So again, if you're in Boise, Idaho, your TikTok should be about, not even about Boise, that's probably a terrible example, right? Whatever major metro area that you're in, you need to get more specific than that, unless you want to handle relocation. So again, I'll just use what I know, right? I do Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, but let's say you want to dominate Brookhaven, Georgia, right? Which is a nice high-end neighborhood in Atlanta. You need to be the Brookhaven guy or gal in terms of TikTok, making TikToks about things to do in Brookhaven. Or how about, here's 5 things I hate about living in Brookhaven, right? Now, I don't recommend you do too much negative stuff, but you definitely want to get people's interest. It could be 10 things I love about living in Brookhaven, 15 things you need to know about living in Brookhaven, my 5 favorite restaurants in Brookhaven. And yes, you can sprinkle in real estate stuff. You can do home tours in Brookhaven. You can, one video that I make on TikTok is literally just opening up the Zillow app, hitting screen record on my iPhone. I will circle Atlanta, the perimeter, and put in a certain budget and certain type of home, and I will comment on the homes that I'm seeing. People love this. It's some of my best performing videos, right? It's kind of like watching HGTV for them. They want a realtor's opinion on the local listings in their area. So you could do that for whatever your neighborhood is. But you got to pick a neighborhood. It should probably be where you're from or where you've spent the most time with, where you live right now, right? Because that's just going to give you a huge leg up. Do not try to be all things to all people. This is some of the most common advice you get in sales. You want to niche down. Now, TikTok is a skill. Do not treat these platforms like they're the same, right? If you're treating TikTok like YouTube, you're going to fail at both, right? So if you decide social media content is the strategy you want to take for getting listings, you need to be a student of the game. You need to dive into TikTok. You need to look at what not big creators are doing on TikTok, because the goal is not to be viral. You should look at what I'm doing on TikTok. You should look at what Glenda Baker is doing on TikTok, right? There are agents on TikTok crushing it, way more so than me. So be a student of the game. Look at what's working on TikTok. Look at the types of videos people are making. Think about how quickly they start and hook you. What do the thumbnails look like on the front page of their TikTok page? What kind of contact form do they have in their bio for people to reach out to them? Are they doing calls to action, right? So you really want to dive in and do your research. But I have gotten a lot of listings from TikTok, and it's always just from someone who lives in that area, right? And they really appreciated how I highlighted their neighborhood, or they liked the home that they saw in the neighborhood that they live in. And listen, people get so confused about TikTok. They think they're going to have to dance. I have never danced in a TikTok, and I have nearly 36,000 followers, and I've closed a bunch of business on TikTok. Never done a dance, right? You just need to tell a quick story that provides value for the people that you're trying to reach. And this could look like a million different things. Look, you're a realtor. You have access to every home that's for sale right now, right? So go find a vacant home with the listing agent's permission and go do a tour and put it on your TikTok, right? If you're a new agent and you don't have any deals in the works, what else are you going to be doing, right? Utilize the fact that as an agent, you can get into homes and do home tours. You can go live, right? Going live, I think, is a hugely underutilized aspect of social media, where you can, in an instant, connect with people who are watching and speaking with you. You could literally open your TikTok app, go in a home that you want to dominate, and go live from that home and interact with people. Now, of course, the majority of them are not going to buy a home or be qualified for, or they're going to be on the other side of the country. But you also will get people who are local, people who engage with you. It's just going to be very beneficial. It's a good sales skill. In sales, what's the goal of what we're trying to do? We're trying to find people to talk to get in front of. And social media has made this so much easier for us. So utilize it. But content is my favorite way to generate leads. If you're looking for listings, TikTok is the one that you need to focus on. And you could just do one TikTok a day. This does not have to be a 4-hour-a-day commitment, okay? This is a skill you're going to develop over time. Try different things. Go to my TikTok channel, Living in Atlanta, Georgia. Copy what I do and apply it to your area. One of the simplest things I do is just pull up articles off a local news website and do a green screen option giving commentary. These take like 15 minutes, and they're some of my best performing videos. So think outside the box, but I'm telling you, TikTok is the best platform to get listings. All right, I'm going to have to speed this up because this is going to be a 45-minute video. But number 3 is hobby groups. And I always mention this when I talk about lead generation, especially if you're a new agent. If you don't have any hobbies, if you don't have any social groups, that's a problem. Okay. And I say this as an introvert who I never get lonely. I could be by myself all the time. Personally, my hobby is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And just based off of the gym that I've been going to for 10 years, I've gotten a lot of it. I don't even know what the number is. I mean, it's good for at least 5 transactions a year, legitimately. Now it's a bigger school, and it's built over time. But hobby groups are how you connect with people with similar interests, right? So they already are going to know you, and hopefully eventually they like you, and then you're one step closer to them trusting you and wanting to work with you as their agent. And beautiful thing about hobby groups is once you help one person in your hobby and do a good job for them, they're going to be very vocal about with other people in their group, and you're going to be the realtor in your hobby, right? So the other beautiful thing about this is you can incorporate a healthy hobby, and you should have hobbies as a healthy functioning adult, right? Whether it's working out. I mean, if you want to work out and you don't currently do that, or maybe you're like me and you are bodybuilding by yourself in a gym lifting weights, you need to get in a group fitness atmosphere. CrossFit could be incredible. Any kind of boot camp could be incredible. So you can be, improving your physical fitness and improving your sales by joining a fitness group. It could be a Bible study. It could be a meditation group. It could be a language learning group. Anything that you're interested in, right? Don't just do it because you want to sell real estate. Pick something that really interests you, whether it's collecting stamps or coins, whatever, right? This is a great excuse to socialize around something you enjoy doing and develop relationships with people with a common interest. And I'm telling you, you should be doing this on day one. At least one, probably two hobbies that very specifically put you in a group of people consistently, a decent sized group of people. That's one of the best things you can do. That's usually where an agent's first piece of business comes, is the hobby group that they're in. So look at this as a great way to enhance your personal life and your business life. Number 4 is open houses, which may seem a little counterintuitive. Most people think open houses are a great way to attract buyers, which of course they absolutely are. But very specifically for new agents, hosting open houses I think is a great way to speak with people who are looking to buy. You also are probably going to interact with neighbors and people considering selling. But most importantly, you're really developing your listing skills in some ways. So what I mean by that is you're going to be able to see how other agents do it up close. You're going to look at the listing on the MLS, how good are the photos, what does the description look like, because you're going to need to research this before you host the open house. Then you're going to go to the house. You're going to see, is it staged, who staged it. You're going to look at the disclosures. This is just going to be a great tactile way to develop your experience in real estate. You're going to set up, essentially you're going to be hosting an event at this house. You're going to prep it, get it smelling good, turn on all the lights, open up the blinds, get the light coming in. Then as people are coming in, you're going to work on your processes for signing in, for the script of the conversation that you want to have, if you're going to tour the home with them or you're going to stay stationary. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But all of these actions are related to real estate on both sides, whether you work with a buyer or a seller. So just purely based off the experience, I think this is worth your time. Again, if you don't have any active business, what else are you doing on the weekends, right? You might as well host an open house. Now again, please go watch my full open house, how to host an open house video before you do this. Because the most common mistake I see in real estate, especially around this, is just that an agent in your office posts on the bulletin board or your social media community that they have an open house that they're looking for someone to host. And you as an agent might live 30 miles away, but it feels like a good thing for you to do. And it's actually not. You should really only be hosting open houses in a very specific location, the location you're trying to dominate. So me personally, when I was really all in on open houses at the beginning of my career, I never signed up for an open house that an agent was advertising. I went on the MLS, only in my area that I was trying to dominate. I found listings that were newer than 14 days, and I called the agent and asked if I could host for them. And yes, you will get lots of no's, mostly by agents who aren't really thinking clearly, but you eventually will get a yes. And now each weekend, if you do this over time, you're hosting open houses in a specific neighborhood that you know a lot about, that you can speak intelligently about as people come in. And if you're putting out branded open house signs with your face on it, people in this community are seeing your face every weekend. This is called brand recognition. So again, I could talk about this for a long time. Go watch my full video. But open houses are a fantastic way, especially for new agents, to just get in the flow of being in a house and selling real estate from both sides. You can see the buyer's perspective, you can see the seller's perspective. There's a lot of experience that you're going to gain by doing this. And yeah, you'll get people that will come in that are looking to sell their home, but you also may send out postcards advertising your open house, and that could end up being the way that you generate listings. So it is a little bit less targeted to sellers, but I think it's extremely beneficial, especially for new agents. All right, at number 5, I have all cash offer programs. Now, at this point, almost every major brokerage has an iBuyer option. Most of these options are for investors and for hedge funds, okay? The likelihood that you're going to approach a retail seller and you're going to get them a cash offer on their home that they are satisfied with is honestly pretty low. But the whole intent here is to have a piece of value that allows us to have a conversation with a seller, right? Because you are legitimately giving them an opportunity to get a real cash offer, probably from a hedge fund, on their home. Now, whether they end up accepting that offer is going to be highly variable to their life situation, right? If there's some sort of distress, it's more likely. But this is a great inroads, right? Because it is so easy to set up a listing consultation under the premise that you need to go to the home and take pictures and get information to submit to an iBuyer program to get an offer, right? And so this is a perfect entryway into having a conversation with sellers in their home, developing rapport, presenting yourself, professionally, showing what kind of value you can provide. This is great experience talking with sellers and doing a listing presentation. So if you have any kind of iBuyer cash offer program offered at your brokerage, think outside the box with how you leverage that. I mean, you can post this on Facebook. Who wants to see what cash offer I can get for their home? You can call FSBOs and expireds and say, look, would you at least like to see what kind of cash offer I can get you? So this is a great way to get your foot in the door with people who are looking to sell. Now, again, I have found that the iBuyer programs are really for distressed assets based on the prices that they're willing to offer, but this is at least a piece of genuine value that you're leading with, instead of just, hey, I'm calling you out of the blue, you don't know me, I'd love to list your home, right? So a lot of people don't think about this. You can run ads with cash offer programs. Think about that, right? There's nothing stopping you from, if you're in the Southeast, if you're in Georgia, you see Mark Spain billboards everywhere, get a guaranteed cash offer for your home today. There's nothing stopping you from offering the same thing, whether it be a post on social media or an ad on Facebook, right? And they do the same thing. The overwhelming majority of Mark Spain clients are probably not closing with a cash offer on their home from that program, because that offer is not going to be at full retail, but it gets them to call the ad, number one, and then it gives an opportunity to convert. So don't sleep on cash offer programs. Finally, at number 6, I have Facebook ads. Now, I don't usually recommend running ads for newbies because it costs money, and I'm a big advocate of developing skills before you spend money, especially if you're cash poor, which a lot of new agents are. But the reason why this is on my list is because it is really, really easy to run Facebook ads and get people to raise their hand asking you to reach out to them, right? You can spend as little as $5 a day and get legitimate leads. Now, this does require the major skill of lead conversion, right? Again, I would frame it that if you can develop this skill, it's a skill you can take into many other industries. It's going to serve you very well for the remainder of your life. But even more so than cold calling FSBOs and expireds, you're unlikely to close a sale, whether it's a listing or a buyer, from a Facebook ad on day one. So I just need you to keep in mind, again, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And honestly, every technique that I mentioned today is going to heavily rely on a foundation of consistent follow-up, utilizing your CRM with the detailed notes that you've taken over the course of your conversations. Now, I have been planning on doing a Facebook ad video to really break it down. I probably will do that sometime in the near future. It's very, very easy to do, okay? You really can't screw it up, and it really doesn't have to be complicated. It's as simple as getting a nice quality photo of a house that looks like it could be for sale in your area, architecturally speaking, and doing some really simple ad copy. Now, if you're targeting listings specifically, you can do things like home value ads, where you say, click on this link and we will tell you what we think the value of your home is. Sellers love this stuff. Sellers are always interested in what the value of their home is. And that is a great way to get their contact information, email or phone, and then have your script and have your follow-up plan of how you're going to contact them, develop a rapport, ask questions, provide value until they're ready to potentially use you. So the great thing about Facebook ads is you can be extremely specific in terms of targeting sellers versus buyers or vice versa. It can be cheap, and it can be a great way to start developing your skill of lead conversion, ad lead conversion. And honestly, if you can develop this skill, if you can start closing leads that you get on Facebook, you're literally trading in, $5 for $25, right? Whatever your monthly spend on is on Facebook ads versus what you're able to close in terms of commission each month. That's just a ratio. And the only thing that it depends on is the skill of conversion. So you're literally developing the skill of spending $5 to make $25, right? And that's not an exact ratio, but you get what I'm saying. It's very much worth your time. And again, we were just talking about cash offer programs. You can run Facebook ads offering a cash offer on someone's home on Facebook, right? Or you can do the home value ads. There's a lot of different things you can do. So again, I would not personally recommend doing Facebook ads until you have some income coming in from your organic lead generation. But especially if you're running a team, you probably already know this if you're running a team, but Facebook ads, if you can teach your team to develop the skill of conversion, is fantastic for developing consistent business. You can totally bypass Zillow and Realtor.com. Listen, if you're thinking of spending money on Zillow and Realtor.com, I don't see any reason why you just wouldn't cut them out and go right to running your own Facebook and Instagram ads. It's not exactly the same in terms of where they are in the sales funnel, but in terms of how much money you're going to spend and return on investment, it's night and day. So if you want to get into the paid ad space, skip Zillow and Realtor.com. Just start running Facebook ads yourself. And again, the framework of developing a skill. You want to do Facebook ads, you got to go research how to convert Facebook ads, right? How to run a Facebook ad for real estate and a follow-up campaign for doing it. You got to become a student of the game. So there you have it, 6 real-life practical ways to start developing leads for listings right away. I hope some of you stayed through the whole video. I'm sure this is going to end up being way longer than I expected it to be. But that's it. Those are real things you can do today. If you really want listings, if you're really serious about this, if you're really serious about making money, this is where the rubber really meets the road, so to speak, right? So if you've been doing busy work up until now, working on your email signature, your website, I hope that's going well for you, but at some time you're gonna have to put that stuff down and really get into the sales game, right? And there's only so many ways to generate leads. These are the 6 best ways I can think of to generate listing leads. So give it a try. Don't do all of these at once. Pick 1, maybe 2, go all in, dedicate yourself to do it regardless of the results for at least 6 to 8 months. Look at it like your craft, research it, learn about it, podcasts, books, seminars, trainings, whatever. And if you can really run this marathon, I know you'll develop the skill, the sales will follow, and you will have the foundation of a thriving business. So I really hope that provided you value and got you excited. Again, comment your thoughts below on what kind of coaching program you would like to see that you don't see in the industry currently. And thank you so much for watching.